It's Thursday, the 18th of June, 2020, and this is From the Mind of Joe. Today's reflection: Coffee with Paper Mario. My son and I took our coffee to the patio yesterday. It's our thing these days, one of our pandemic guy time rituals. And when the stars align, and he decides it's a chair day rather than a bed day, when he hasn't had tea with my wife too close to coffee time, and when he doesn't have plans to have his coffee in front of the TV, the ritual may include conversation. Conversation may be a bit loose of a term, though. Quite often, it's a broadcast. A one-way dump from inside the world of video games. You sense the sarcasm, yes? Here's the thing. I was around during the advent of video arcades and home video game consoles, and I never really did catch the bug. We had an Atari 2600 sometime after they came out, and I played along, but didn't really start getting excited until the personal computer started appearing. That teed off into computer programming, reverse engineering, and a few other things in time. But, really, my gaming was more or less limited to a few console-based puzzle games like Adventure and Zork, plus a few games that appeared in books as basic programs, like Hunt the Wumpus. And those were really more about learning the programming, and occasionally debugging or hacking the printouts. Where my son got the gaming bug, I may never know. For my own part, though, I'll admit to allowing it, and maybe even encouraging it. I reasoned that, as his muscular dystrophy progressed, he would at least have video games as an activity to keep him engaged. Moreover, as modern games were moving online, there were, in essence, entire worlds where physical disabilities in this reality would not be a limitation in the others. With cameras, microphones, and high-speed networking, I figured he might find his place among friends in any number of communities. And besides, it might be hypocritical for me to have done otherwise. After all, a lot of what I am today is an echo of that early excitement from pulling the computer thread all those years ago. To date, none of that really went according to plan. Instead, the cameras, microphones, and high-speed networking gathered dust in favor of increased investment in the latest single-player, platformers, or arcade-style games on any and every platform. And where other people were turning to the internet for conversation, news, learning new hobbies, and so forth, he was researching how to beat certain levels. And having turned so far inward in solo play, when it came time to talk about video game news and excitement, having established no other connections, well, there was pretty much only me to receive it. So there we were on the patio yesterday with our coffee, my son broadcasting his most recent achievement in the game Super Paper Mario, developed for the Nintendo Wii platform in 2007. He boasted having completed the game from start to finish in a bit over 30 hours, beating his previous best time of over 50 hours, and his first ever completion in well over 100 hours. This prideful claim stopped me in my tracks. Are you serious? Naturally, he suspected my question preceded a high five or the like, not an, "Are you telling me you spent over 200 hours playing a video game?" Or the, "Is that why I was bumping around inside a busy grocery store, masked up, looking for AA batteries yesterday? They were for a Wii remote?" But if you thought that would have resulted in an awkward silence, you haven't been following. You can't just stop a broadcast. But maybe the host will entertain a caller with a question or two. "Son, is that gaming system still in production?" No. "Is anyone developing new games for it?" No. "What inspired all this time spent on a dead game on a dead platform?" Apparently there was a Reddit post, or maybe a YouTube post, or some such post, or some social media celebrity gamer fellow with the moniker The Completionist mentioned that he had revisited the game and completed it in such and such time. Sorry I can't be more specific, but the details didn't register. In case you didn't gather, it's well outside my reality. So what happens if you beat that guy's time? Nothing. So what's the point? Well, right now, if you Google the game and go to Reddit, I'm the top poster for that game's subreddit. How many posts does the forum get for dead games on the Dead platform? Somewhere outside myself, I had a brief glimpse into where this was going, and I realized I had to stop. If this was a train wreck in progress, it was largely one of my own design. I laid the tracks. I fed the engine. I tried to curve the tracks here and there, but more than once made conscious decisions along the way, throwing the occasional warning, but letting it follow its course. Now here we were, about to ruin Guy's coffee time, with a father's lecture expressing disappointment in his son. Now I have to admit that Super Paper Mario is a clever game in that, with a push of a button, the player switches into an orthogonal dimension with a completely different point of view. Where before there may have been an obstacle to progress in the always forward scrolling world, in the orthogonal dimension, you simply sidestep that obstacle and continue. The real trick is to realize when you're stuck and to try to change perspectives. Suddenly, I found myself in a conversation with my own father, and I remember the feeling of intense disappointment I was sure he felt toward me for not being the son he would have expected. And I remember one time lashing out at him, indicating how my interests were different, and he just didn't get it. I also remember the unexpected and clear response that cut right through, showing that he had been paying attention to me all along and that he did care. I remember that now precisely as I did then, decades later, decades after his death. I felt like such a heel. And I thought that this might be a good time to share that particular story about me, a boy just a bit younger than him, and my father, the grandfather he never knew. Afterward, I told him about a little project I'd been working on, writing and recording some of these reflections and stories. I told him that I didn't expect him to find any of the stories especially interesting now, but who knows? The day might come when he'd want to know more. So I played one of these videos for him. He cringed. What's wrong? Well, you're already starting out with the most menacing voice. Doesn't it sound like me? No, and your phrasing is weird. I explained that it was challenging for me to learn all the tools, to practice speaking clearly, to space things in such a way to allow easier editing later, to find right recording levels, and so forth, and to do them all at once. I'm new to this, I explained, but I understand technology and other stuff. I think I just have to practice. He gave me some other observations and tips, his delivery as critical as my own, and I appreciated it. He consoled me a little too. You know, that podcast such and such, they were nothing, but all of a sudden they have millions of listeners, and I listen to them all the time. Anyway, we probably have to give some credit to work perfecting a dead game on a dead platform. It was a good day for Guy's coffee time. Now our talk did close a bit abruptly when he started going off about snow globes, only to be interrupted by my daughter's return from college. If I remember, I'll ask him next time.